Hey guys, what's up? This is Screen Miller coming at you with yet another video. Today we're going to be looking at this. This is a first generation iPod. This iPod is now 16 years old. It was released in 2001, and this is actually the max model. These were released in 5 and 10 gigabyte options. This one is actually the 10 gigabyte option. Now, there are a few defining features between this and the second generation iPod. This was the only iPod to have a physical spinning scroll wheel. With the second generation, they added the touch capacitive, and that carried over through the rest of the models. It's also a little thicker than the second generation. The font on the back is a lot different. The second generation was the first to introduce the actual font that we're used to seeing on the rest of Apple's devices today. And of course, the second thing is the first gen did not have the FireWire 400 cover. That was only included on the second gen, and then it was done away with on the third gen when they added the 30-pin connector, which is something that this first gen nor the second gen had, was the 30-pin. All the syncing and charging was done over the FireWire 400. These do not look at pictures or videos. Picture functionality was added in the 4th generation iPod, and then video was introduced on the 5th generation iPod. Back in 2001, these only did music, so this is an exclusive music player. So starting here from the main menu, you can see we have that music is currently playing, indicated there. It tells you that it's an iPod, in case you didn't know. And we have our battery indicator, which is currently half. We have extras, we have settings, we have shuffle songs, backlight, and we also have now playing. And of course, at any time you can just press the pause button and it will pause the music up here at the top. Let's go ahead and look at the settings. So we have about. This is, of course, showing that we have 9.2 gigabytes available, or capacity, and then we have 8 gigabytes available. This is version 1.5. It's actually version 1.5.1, but it doesn't say that. And this is actually really interesting to me because when I got this, it was actually running the original firmware, and I updated it to 1.5.1. Just kind of funny. I think this might be the last iPod that was ever updated to 1.5.1. So it's chances are something that you're not going to see happen ever again. And of course, here we have in the settings we have main menu, so we can select so here, this main menu setting allows us to select what all we want to show up on the main menu. So obviously we can select whether or not we want music to show up on the main menu, if we want playlists, artists, albums, genres. It gives you all kinds of stuff that you can select to be on the main menu. I'm going to go ahead and throw game on there. I just threw clock on there. And of course you can reset main menu. But now, as you can see, if we go all the way back to the main menu, we have the option for now playing. We have backlight, clock, music. All this stuff is showing up here. Of course, clock is just very simple. It's just a clock. But since I went ahead and put game on here, this is the one game that is actually available for this. It just came installed. It's Brick Breaker. And I think this is actually the best device to play this on because the physical scroll wheel really makes it super easy to control. And obviously, as you can see, the refresh rate of the LCD isn't exactly optimal. moving back and forth quickly, you get a lot of motion blur. And that's the screen itself, not my camera. The screen just has a low response rate. Boom! And as you can see, as we actually progress further, we speed up and we get more layers of bricks that we have to break. So this is, quite frankly, just a fully fledged version of Brick Breaker. Alright, so what else do you have? Well, that's really it. Aside from some basic settings, the ability to play game, and playing songs, that's all you have. That's what this thing was built to do. Let's see, we got some music here. And it's pretty simple. You do have the ability to shuffle, obviously. That's one thing that the iPod was really known for, was shuffling. You still change volume the same way. You still have, everything. Pretty much the controls on the iPod have never changed. If you look at the second gen, they're the same. The only one that they were different on was the third gen, which I don't have here now. But I mean, in all actuality, if you look at even like this is the fifth gen that I swapped the SSD into, you notice that the control scheme is exactly the same. Now, the one thing that the fifth gen doesn't do that the first gen does is the fifth gen can't stand up by itself. Which that's actually something that's super interesting. That was a feature that was removed from the iPods, while as that was something that people talked about being added to the iPhones, but we obviously know that that's now not the case, because as of the iPhone 6 you can no longer stand it up like you can with the iPhone 5. Now, one thing that's probably super important to note about these first gen iPods, if you're looking to get into them, is that they cannot connect to a Windows PC. They have to be connected to a Mac, because they only used Mac formatting. The first iPod that was capable of being connected to a Windows PC was the second gen, but you still had to use a PC that had FireWire 400 on it. So if you have the intentions of actually purchasing one of these and using it, just to play around with it or whatever you want to do with it, then that's a very important thing to note. Another thing is, with new Macs, you can't just plug it in because you don't have FireWire 400. So how do you connect this to a new Mac? Well, it gets kind of complicated there. Okay, so this is how you connect a modern Mac to a first-gen iPod. I have to say modern because the new MacBooks don't have all these various ports. They only have USB-C. So you're going to have to use another adapter. But for this, you're going to have to use a Thunderbolt to FireWire 800 adapter. And that'll give you FireWire 800. But remember, you still need FireWire 400. So we're going to have to take a FireWire 800 to a FireWire 400 adapter. And we're going to have to plug that into the FireWire 800 adapter. And then once we do that, we can just plug it in with the FireWire 400 cable that came with the iPod. And believe it or not, this actually works. As you can see, iTunes just popped up over here, and it's currently connected to iTunes. Now, if you have one of these newer MacBook Pros, which only have the USB-C port, then you're going to need to also use a USB-C adapter to a Thunderbolt 2 adapter. This is getting pretty fun, isn't it? You're just stacking adapters on adapters on adapters. It's pretty great. Alright guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and until next time, have a good one.